today we are making clusters. I have this drawer of scraps which is a hot mess, and I thought I would get rid of some of the scraps that I couldn't stand anymore. I don't know if you ever experience this, but if I go through my craft supplies, through my scraps as I'm working, and I come across the same damn scraps again and again, eventually I think to myself, man, I really have to get rid of some of these scraps. I don't like them using in everyday normal collages on the fly, and they just keep living and living and living in my drawer, and I never use them. So I thought I'd make some clusters to get rid of some of the scraps that are just, outdated, I'd say. I've just seen them so many times, they have to get used now. So right now I'm sorting out this drawer into scraps that I want to use now, scraps that I want to hold on to, scraps that I don't want to downsize, because that is the first step we have to do. Find something and tear it into smaller scraps. So I have this paper. This is from a photo album. It's like this transparent in-between page that sits on top of the photos. I have lots of that, so I thought, let's get started with this and make some smaller scraps. So I tear everything up and make a little pile. I have all kinds of things in this drawer. Gift wrap, book spine pieces. And it's crazy how some scraps are connected to memories, if they're from a specific place, especially gift wrap, and you have a memory connected to them. It's just really nice to come across them every now and then use them in a collage. These two little drawers are my tiny scraps and my medium-sized scraps. I was looking through them, considering to use some of those as well, but I was mainly working on the big drawer on the far left, and getting rid of some of the stuff that was in there, because it was cluttered. It made no sense. The stuff that was in there was colorful papers, neutral papers. It was just a mess, and I wanted to get rid of the stuff in there. So yeah, everything is sorted now. Small scraps went into the small scraps drawer, and so on and so forth, and organizing a bit back and forth, and proceeding to mix these scraps up that I now chose to use, and mix them up. So I grab different pieces every time, basically. And now I always pick, let's say, 3 to 5 scraps, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, and I try to organize them in a way that, I try to not think too hard about it. I try to be random about it. Now I was considering to use a stapler, but then I wanted to use this tape roller, but it just tore up the paper. That happens sometimes if the paper is old and fragile. So I use a glue stick instead. And I recommend to turn your head off and try to just glue stuff down and to not think about it much. Because you get random results, and it's just more fun. If you are a perfectionist, I am totally a perfectionist. It's nice to every now and then let loose and just look at stuff and be like, oh, I like this, and then I like this. Okay, let's glue these things together. Okay, moving on, next one. It's It's quick, and I'm not saying it's easy if you're a perfectionist, but the experience is really cool because random art is awesome. Not everything has to be organized and straight and neat, you know, especially not when you're junk journaling. I'm using glue stick because it's totally suffices, you know, I'm just sticking scraps together. And usually in my case, I would always glue down a cluster onto a page or an envelope with liquid craft glue because it's I trust it more than a glue stick, but a glue stick is fine to just, you know, quickly put a few pieces together. There is not a lot of wear and tear put upon these scraps. And as I proceed, I feel like I get more and more comfortable with not thinking too much and just grabbing pieces and gluing them on, either in the background or in the foreground, and then just arranging them so that they look random. And that's how you know you're in the flow. When things are just flowing, you don't have to think much and it's just happening for you. This piece is from a Christmas gift wrap. And it was a nice Christmas, but now I'm gluing something over this part because I didn't want the snowflakes to be so visible in the cluster. I wanted neutral clusters. I chose neutral colors because my current project is completely in neutral colors. If you have a journal in pink and blue, please take pink and blue snippets. Just make it your own and make it fit to your journal, whatever journal you're working on. This black paper is just black, pretty thick paper that I embossed with an embossing folder, and it's all like numbers, and I love it. It's so cool. But you know, then I emboss one piece of cardboard or cardstock, and then I never use it and hoard it because I think it's so cool. Although I can recreate it anytime with my embossing folder. It's sometimes junk journaling is ridiculous. How long you can hold on to things because you think they're pretty and you know you don't want to waste it. It's really weird. I'm sure you know what that feels like. Okay, here we go. This is all the clusters that I made, and now I can show you how they look with a focal point on top. These are Tim Holtz paper dolls. And as you can see, no matter where I put it, it always looks awesome. And that's the magic of clusters. Like, it's so easy. But if you don't have Tim Holtz paper dolls, there's more you can use as a focal point. You can use a fussy cut butterfly or a bird from a magazine. You can use a button, you can use a coin, you can use anything that you want to be in the foreground and that you want to stand out. I just wanted to show you that whatever you use on top of a cluster, it just looks great. And vintage photos, real vintage photos, also look awesome. But what if we want to do more to these clusters? You could stop here and decorate it more when you want to put your cluster into your project. Or you could proceed now and add watercolor splatters. You could scribble on them, and I decided to stamp on them. Almost all of the stamps I'm using are from AliExpress. Yes, I am aware that some of them are rip-offs of Tim Holtz's art. So I recommend, if you have enough money to buy the real stuff, do it, because it always supports the artist, and it's the artist's idea that was stolen by China, and now they are making money off of it. You know, if you're in my shoes and this is just a hobby, I understand that you would rather pay $1 for a stamp set than $30. I live in Germany and some sets are super expensive, if they are from Tim Holtz originally. So I understand if you don't have that kind of money. And but there is a sense of shame that I have. Being an artist myself, I wouldn't want my ideas to be ripped off, you know. So if you can support the artist, I support Tim Holtz as much as I am able to. I have a bunch of his ink pads. I have an original die cut set by him. I have ink sprays, you know. I have a bunch of stuff from Tim Holtz, but for some reason, I just thought the stamp set is cheaper on AliExpress, so I'm gonna get it from there. I also like that it's silicone stamps from AliExpress. Tim Holtz's stamps have this foam backing, rubber stamps with foam backing, and I don't know. I just like silicone stamps. I don't know why he doesn't release them as silicone stamps. I have no idea. Maybe there is an explanation. I'm not sure. Anyway, use what you have, even, you know, even if it's a rip-off, even if it's just a stamp from a thrift store or whatever you found, self-made stamp, you know, anything like that works fine as long as it makes you happy. That's important. I'm not really going by any visual rules when I stamp. I just look at the cluster and let it speak to me, basically, and then stamp on it whatever I think that it needs. The stamp that I'm using right now is from a Dutch chain called Action. It's awesome, but they haven't released cool stamps in quite a while. They released a few wooden stamps recently with rubber. They were really cool, but they were quite big. But I wish they would release more vintage silicone stamps. That would be awesome. This is a Tim Holtz style background stamp. I don't know if there is an original one like this, but it's super cool. It has different areas with the different visual textures, or however to call it, and it's great for backgrounds. I don't even use an acrylic block with it. I just put it in the ink and put it to paper. Another thing you can do if you don't want to just stamp is stenciling. Stenciling is always super quick and easy and has a great effect if you have a stencil that you really love. And I recommend, if you have a specific project, to stick to 1 or 2 stencils for this one project and don't use too many stencils all over the place, because it's really cool if that stencil pattern repeats itself throughout your journal. And I currently have my favorite stencils anyways that I use all the time, and this is definitely one. And I have another one. I think I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'm going to use that as well in this video. As you can see on the cluster that I have here, I sewed a bit on the side, on the right side of this little girl, because I thought it needed a bit of contrast there. And some black sewing is always a cool way to create a bit of contrast. Now I stamp on top of the stenciling. And you can go by the rule of 3, you know, have 3 black things on the cluster, or you just decide it's good like this. What I do is I thought it needed more black at the bottom, so I used a mini sponge and distressed it with black ink, which is really cool. I hardly ever see people do this. Most people distress things with walnut stain or ground espresso or vintage photo. Sometimes I use just black and it looks really grungy, and sometimes it's the little something that your collage needs. Showing again that you can use different focal points and everything looks awesome, even though I now changed the collage. You know, I stamped and stenciled, and still whatever focal point you use is great. I always love the combination of butterfly wings with the Tim Holtz paper dolls. It's so cute. Moving on. Yeah, this is my other favorite stencil that I use at the moment. Again, this one and the other one I bought off AliExpress, and I do believe there is original artists who came up with these. I have no idea where you can get the original stencils. I just saw these stencils on AliExpress and bought them. So if you know the real artist, let me know. And if you want to buy these stencils, I definitely recommend supporting the artists and not China if you can. Again, I did some sewing on this cluster. This key stamp set is from Action as well. So cool. But I decided against it because no key really fitted as I wanted it to. So I'm grabbing this stamp set by Action as well. This was a recent release. This is actually a pretty cute stamp set. It has florals and butterflies and bees. Unfortunately, when I came home with it, I realized that one stamp was missing from the set. And I heard this multiple times now, that several people found that a stamp did not make it into the package, which is interesting. Again, this ticket set is originally from Tim Holtz. if you can buy it from him. I believe his stamps are also bigger. I don't think they are this small, which is a common thing with AliExpress. The stamps look, normal size online, but if you have it at home, they are super small. I don't mind that, for clusters like this. It works for me, but it's a bit sometimes it can be an unpleasant surprise if you receive your stamp and it's just tiny. As you can see, combined with the vintage photo, really cool. I found myself to struggle sometimes to use vintage photos because they're just rectangles, just rectangles. And they take up a lot of room on a cluster. And it's a bit tricky for me sometimes to use them in a way that complements the photo. But on clusters, seems pretty doable task. Clusters also take away this, fear of sticking scripts right into your journal and then messing it up, and then you cannot unstick it. So you just stick a bunch of scripts together, and then when you're happy with them, stick them into your journal, which is, I think, less stressful than, doing a collage right in your journal right away from the ground up. I actually bought a nice and more pricier stamp set on Amazon today from a real artist. And I will make a little haul video on that, I think, because it's really, really cute. I saw it on Instagram. I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'm excited for it to arrive and to show you guys and support real artists. I'm looking forward to that. I always stab my stamps on my desktop, which is just lined with gift wrap, and it's super colorful by now. I have to exchange it soon, and I switch it up and then use it for collages as well. It's super useful way to protect your desktop like that. I'm dabbing this because it was still a little wet. It's permanent ink, but I didn't want any of that in my journal or on my fingers. I like the texture of the cardboard in the middle. I just like textural things in general in my journal. I don't mind the bulk, Right now I decide to use a piece of paper. That's also a piece of fabric, I'm sorry. That's also something you can do in your collages. Use fabric. And I constantly have to remind myself to use fabric a bit more because it's really, again, texture-wise, really cool. This piece of fabric that I'm using here is a cotton fabric that I dyed with rust. I wrapped nails and security pins and screws in there and then sprayed it with vinegar over the course of like 3 weeks, and then rinsed it always with soap and water, and it turned out amazing. Rust dyeing is certainly something I want to explore more with because I love the color of rust. Rust is so mysterious, you know, like rusty keys, rusty hinges, you know, lost places, stuff like that. I just associate all kinds of things like that with Rust. Forgotten, just forgotten things, you know. Slather some tacky glue on there because I really want this to stick on the fabric. I could have used fabric glue as well, but the tacky glue is just like an all-purpose glue. It works great on anything. Never had any problems with it. And here we go for the last cluster of today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you feel inspired to make your own clusters. I see you soon. I love you guys. Bye bye.